Шановні колеги, ми продовжуємо робочий день. Тема наступної.
Dear colleagues, the topic of current press briefing is as follows. Persecution of journalist Mykola Semena in Crimea. New details in the case of the case and advocacy strategy. We have Oleksandr Popkov, lawyer Mykola Semena from Russia, Volodymyr Prytula, and director of RadioSvoboda Crimea project, Crim.Realities. And good afternoon. Let me introduce myself. I'm Oleksandr Popkov. I'm Russian advocate. I'm member of the international Agora group. We defend in Russia journalists and other people who are persecuted by police or authorities. Now we have to work in Crimea because the situation with the human rights in Crimea is deteriorating rapidly. One of the major problems, of course, with human rights in Crimea is persecution of Crimean Tatars, Crimean Muslims. My colleagues and me, we defend them and represent their interests. Nevertheless, the human rights in Crimea are violated not just among the Crimean Tatars. The freedom of speech is also violated, and there is a criminal case of Mykola Semena. We expect that in October or November, the case will be submitted to the Russian Crimean Code. This is the case about violation of the territorial integrity of Russia. He is blamed allegedly in writing down in his article about the annexation of Crimea and the necessity to bring back Crimea to Ukraine. This is despite the fact that the entire world believes that Crimea is Ukrainian. The situation in Russia is different, and they believe that Crimea is a subject of the Russian Federation. And any calls to separate Crimea from Russia and bringing it back to Ukraine is qualified as a violation of the territorial integrity. Mykola Semena rejected from all attempts to make all the charges easy. He believes that he expressed right opinion, and he believed that he had the right to express his opinion in any form. We do also believe that he had that right. That's why we appeal to international journalist community to support his colleague. In his article, he never called people to do some public disorders or riots. He simply called people to believe that Crimea should be brought to Ukraine back. At the same time, he has problems with health, and the health care institute in Kiev produced official invitation for him to visit this medical facility because in case of non-treatment at this stage of his disease, this could be very harmful for his health. But it's not our major argument during our court defense. Now my trip to Kiev is based on an attempt to find good evidences, and during the court proceedings, we will base our defense on the Russian legislation, and our main statement would be that materials of the journalists never violated the territorial integrity of Russia. Even from the point of view of Russian legislation about bringing Crimea back to Russian Federation. Nevertheless, there are some problems in that legislation which allow us to make the point that all the calls expressed by the journalist to withdraw Crimea from Russian Federation, bring it to Ukraine, these are not breaches of Russian sovereign integrity, because the main message is that Russian Federation, if it wishes to make Crimea Russian, it has to conclude an agreement with neighboring country, that is with Ukraine. We appealed to Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to different government officials, and now I would like to appeal to the experts. We need your help. We need some evidences and witness statements, maybe not from just Ukrainian experts, but from independent European experts who could help us to prove that, in line with the international legislation, the sovereignty of Russian the territorial sovereignty of Russian Federation could not include Crimea, could not cover Crimea. We have this set of international documents, the UN resolution, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe resolution, but Russian Federation does not wish to take them into account. That's why we encourage NGOs in Ukraine to provide us with assistance and allow us to contact international experts able to help us.
I'm not a lawyer, but when I looked at this text of Mykola Semena, I have not seen any calls to change the borders, as the representatives of SBI say. There is the Mykola Semena writes that Crimea is part of Ukraine. That's what he believes. I would like to draw your attention to the fact Mykola Semena is persecuted because he was executing his professional duties. He was writing the text. He is the author of RadioSvoboda. He has been cooperating with RadioSvoboda for a long time, and for that he is being persecuted. Mykola Semena is a famous Ukrainian Crimean journalist. He's considered to be the maestro of Crimean journalism. He has been in journalism for almost 50 years. He started when he was very young. He was writing articles to local newspapers. Then he was heading some of the local newspapers, and for more than 10 years he was the correspondent of a leading Ukrainian newspapers, Zerkalo Tizhnya Den. He was the correspondent of Izvestia, Moscow newspaper, when they were Izvestia. And that is why we do hope that both Russian and Ukrainian journalists will together provide the support. We do feel the support of Ukrainian organizations, the National Journalist Association, media, trade union of journalists, but we expect that there will be the support provided by the colleagues of the journalists from Den newspaper, from Zerkalo Tizhnya newspaper, and of a wide Ukrainian and foreign community. We expect to get the support from international advocacy organizations and journalist organizations. The leaders, the executives of RadioSvoboda, Radio Liberty, is monitoring this situation, and we are taking all possible measures using diplomatic channels. We hope that Mykola Semena will receive a permit for getting treatment, medical treatment. There are fears related to his health and his life, and because of that the leading Ukrainian clinics invite him for treatment. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you. Emine Dzheppar, thank you. Salam alaikum. Greetings. The topic of the freedom of speech is personal for every one of you. And we have been stating for the last almost 3 years that there's no freedom of speech in Crimea left. That is an information ghetto. There were not many alternatives for journalists, either to leave the profession or if you continue to work as a journalist, that is a potential risk for the life and health of the journalist, or work for the occupant or leave the territory of Crimea. That is how many publications did, and these Center of Journalist Investigation, like CNews and События Крыма and other media, which unfortunately cannot work in Crimea. They work in deportation. Starting from May till today, we have registered 7 or 8 cases of the violations of the freedom of speech, of persecutions, and these are 19th of July. Blocking the sites like Krym.Realiyi. And I heard that the website of UCMC was blocked also. The journalist Igor Bardyga was detained and interrogated in May. Also, the members of the family of Mykola Semena were invited for interrogation. In May, also, the representatives of FSB detained Mr. Kadyrov, the blogger, and also the deputy of the general director of production studio Harajanis received the information that she should stop the extremist activities. That is what Rifat Chubarov mentioned, talking about July and September. In Kerch, the doctors were prohibited to talk to journalists without the moderation of the representatives of the Ministry of Health of occupied Crimea, and the list announced by the Federal Service of Financial Monitoring, they make public the list of extremists and terrorists. They add people to that. On the 12th of July, they added Hanna Andrievska and Mykola Semena, our journalists, to this list. There are 6,000 people there, more than 20 are the journalists from Crimea. Talking about Mykola Semena, for us, his defense, and we have talked about that with the executives of RadioSvoboda and the lawyers. The defense was selected such that the publicity is very important when we talk about the defense of his interests. We are joining this campaign at all our platforms. We are talking about Mykola Semena, about this story. He is called the extremist and terrorist. His health is now such that he can become a disabled person. The lawyers came to us on the 19th of July. The Ministry of Information Policy requested the Ministry of Public Health so that the best Ukrainian hospital sends a request to send Mykola Semena for medical examination, and all that was given to the Ministry of Public Health. In 2 days we received the reply from the Ministry of Public Health, and the Institute of Neurosurgery of the National Academy of Medical Sciences agreed, and they sent such a request, and they invited him, such an invitation. And the next specific thing that we have done, we submitted the name of Mykola Semena to the list of people who should be awarded for their contribution for building up independence. And the award is, there was the presidential order issued, and Mykola Semena was awarded the Jubilee Medal of 25th years of independence.
Він є з 84-го року, 1984.
He's been in association of independent journalists of Crimea since 1996. We expect to get your support, colleagues. I know that European Union Federation and the International Federation of Journalists, they supported Mykola Semena. They were making statements, and it is important for us to explain that, to disseminate that information. Any questions, any clarifications? If not, this is it. Thank you, friends. See you soon.
Шановні колеги, наступна подія об 11:30, тобто за 7 хвилин.